Welcome to Compass Points, the weekly podcast for CompassKnox.com. CompassKnox.com is your best source for news and politics in Knoxville and Knox County. If you'd like to learn more about the topics discussed on today's podcast, go to CompassKnox.com and subscribe for in-depth coverage and much more.
Welcome to Compass Points, a podcast about Knoxville, Knox County government, politics, business, education, just about anything else that strikes our fancy. I'm Scott Barker, the editor of Compass, and we're a subscription-based website and newsletter where we report on all of those topics and more. I'm joined today, as I frequently am, by Compass co-founder Jesse Mayshark. Jesse, how's it going?
Ooh, it's Halloween. We're taping on October 31st. By the time you hear this, it's going to be November, but as of right now, it's still my favorite holiday. So I'm doing well. I like Halloween.
All right, good deal. Do too. We've got candy ready to go in case we get anybody. We haven't had
You didn't bring any for me and Seth?
Trick or treaters. Well, no.
Seth's in costume.
You guys get tricks. You don't get treats.
Well, I was going to say, boo, Halloween is not my favorite. Like, I've never been a big Halloween fan. It's just been, like, I don't hate the holiday. Having kids and doing the kids stuff at Halloween has been great, but it's never, like, Thanksgiving, as I've turned into adult, Thanksgiving has become my number 1A.
I like Thanksgiving, too.
It's my favorite.
Well,
I like Christmas. One of the reasons I like Halloween is that it sets off this entire run of these great, I like all of them.
Sure. It's just like, I like, Thanksgiving is the least, as a self-described capitalist, it is the least capitalist of the holidays. It still holds on to that. I mean, the Thanksgiving Day parade obviously is what it is, but it still holds on to, like, this is just an excuse to get together.
It is kind of hard to
eat.
Commercialize Thanksgiving beyond
turkey sales.
Grocery stores,
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and I guess the NFL.
Which we will have a fun, that'll be a fun economic indicator when we see what because that's when they always do. They always do the average price of the Thanksgiving meal for families. It's always a good fun, like, key touch point to understand how bad inflation is.
I was just actually reading that candy prices are up 10% this year.
Yeah.
So if you're noticing that when you've been out buying your Halloween candy, there's a reason. We have had real candy inflation.
Wonder if the tariffs have anything to do with that.
Where is our candy coming from?
Maybe maybe some sugar stuff, and you can check out the Jesse's other podcast.
That's right, the Progressive South. This week, we talked about the massive influence of the Florida sugar barons on American politics. Check that out. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about.
No, and before we get going, a point of personal privilege that's going to absolutely infuriate everyone listening because of our location. Happy birthday, Nick Saban. So it is his birthday. He's scared folks in Knoxville every year.
A lot more tricks than treats for Vol fans.
Well, if we're going to touch on
sure.
football, I'm always super excited about dark mode. I love the dark mode unis that they're wearing tomorrow or last night for you guys listening. And I think that's one of that's my favorite alternate uniform that UT ever does. Always has been. It's a good uniform.
Well, there you go. I kind of think it's fun too. So it's.
Yeah, but you don't count with that hat on.
He is wearing the Alabama hat.
I still can enjoy the hoopla.
For all the fans that used to watch the
UT.
YouTube version of this where we had it videotaped, this is why we stopped doing video of it, because we didn't want to put that Alabama hat on.
That's right. We're giving too much free promotion.
Okay, well, that's I'm good with that. Okay, so we'll get into the news that happened last week. One is early voting ended. We've got some results that we'll talk about. Kind of a related measure, the Knoxville City Council passed an affordable housing ordinance that is tied to the sales tax referendum that is on the ballot. Also, County Commission met last week. They decided to delay ordinances that would require additional financial reporting from nonprofits. We'll talk a little bit about the response to the threat of losing SNAP benefits. By the time you listen to this, we'll know that that there are no SNAP benefits for people who need assistance buying groceries. It is the deadline is Friday, which is the day that we're talking about.
Although
this.
There is the possibility of breaking news today about that.
Absolutely. So what we'll focus on is not actually that, but what the some local folk are doing in anticipation of that. We'll also talk about the controversial Charlie Kirk resolution that County Commission passed on Monday. But first, we're going to get into the juvenile detention facility here in Knox County. It has been, as listeners know, it's been in flux lately. The Richard Bean, the only superintendent of the in the history of the 53, I believe, year history of the Juvenile Service Center. They don't like to use the word detention. It's the Juvenile Service Center.
They just happen to be providing services to people who are detained.
Yes, but that he resigned under pressure this summer, and the county commission formed an oversight committee. They hired Brian Bivens, who's a former chief of detentions for the Knox County Sheriff's Office, to be the interim superintendent in anticipation of turning over operation of the facility to the Knox County Sheriff's Office in January. They also got the University of Tennessee's County Technical Assistance Service to do a study of the facility, and that study was complete. The report was presented to that board last week, and it is absolutely damning. The place is a mess. Everything from just record keeping, which is almost exclusively done on paper, and is frequently omits information and things like that. And if you know anything about detention, adult or juvenile, every encounter, every incident, everything like that has to be recorded and documented, and the documentation is just in disarray. They don't even know exactly how much it costs to house a juvenile in the facility, and this report was 98 pages long. Every page contained a deficiency and recommendation for what the county needs to do to rectify this. It was and this covers everything. This covers, one of the disturbing things is it covered security. There is no perimeter fence around the property, which and they didn't want us to report all this stuff because of how bad it is. But you can walk. It's in a public document. You can walk right up to the fence of some of the recreation areas there, which obviously would make it pretty easy to pass contraband if you were so inclined to do so to some of these some of the residents there. There is a video surveillance system, as you might imagine, but there are so many blind spots that they need 34 new cameras to cover all of them. And so they had, actually, the report has a diagram of them. We didn't publish it, but there are large swaths of blind spots throughout the facility. It's everything. The staffing is low. There's a lot of turnover, a lot of undocumented, not really undocumented, unjustified overtime that they've reported. There's it's just absolutely astounding. All of the shortcomings that they ran into. The one kind of remarkable thing about the facility is it's a 120 bed facility, but only about 25 to 30 people stay there at any night. It's really underused. The people who go there are these are juveniles who are accused of crimes. They will stay there usually just overnight. They don't stay there long, which causes other problems. But they'll go there, stay overnight, go to their court date, and then if they're not accused of a violent crime, they're released. They don't come back. And then there are also residents there who are in the custody of the Department of Children's Services for various reasons. These are juveniles who are not necessarily accused of a crime, but they are at the facility and they are housed there. But still, I mean, only 25. This year, the average has been 25 a night, and staying there. And of course, if you can easily do the math, that means 95 beds are empty. And in fact, 2 of the residential areas there are pods and dorms. 2 of the dorms are closed and just haven't been used in forever. Except one of them was used to house goats for some reason. That was one of the kind of astounding.
Well, they are kids.
That's true.
Man, I wish I had a rim shot.
I do too.
Right
yeah,
real good.
Maybe you can edit that in.
I'll see if I can read it post.
But yeah, I mean, they had. In fact, I don't know if these were goats that they had brought in to take care of kudzu or whatever, but they were actually in the dorm.
Huh.
And the day of Jim Hart, who's the CTAS expert, and he is a corrections expert, who did the study, did a site visit in August, right after Bean's forced retirement came into effect, and there were still, at the time he was there, staff and residents were actually cleaning up feces that was still in the facility there.
Wow.
So it was, and that was one of the things you could go. It was kind of interesting with all of the places that are used, according to Hart, were clean. They were sanitary. The cells that were used, the pods and the common areas and all of those things appear to be clean and sanitary. But the places that are not used very often, that people don't go into, were filthy, and that was one of them. Like I said, I don't know if these were at one point kudzu control goats or what, but I can't imagine that I can imagine that must violate about 24 Department of Children's Services regulations and city zoning codes, everything else. I have no idea, but it was one of those strange findings. There are a lot of issues with some of the other parts, almost every part of the operations. The food service, they feed them in their cells or their pods on trays instead of they've got a dining room. They don't use it, and one of the things is the menus that they have. They're not checked by dietitians. They don't have a kitchen manager. They have cooks, but they don't have a kitchen manager. They don't have a shift supervisor. What Bivens has had to do since he's taken over is he's had to take a regular officer and make them officer for the day, for the shift, and kind of on an ad hoc basis. A lot of people who get hired in aren't trained. It's just a big, their staffing is inadequate. The report presented two options for staffing, but just based on what they observed this time, one of them would require an extra 6 positions. So all of these things add up: new cameras, new positions, new fencing, new cameras. Yeah, it's just on and on. They need electronic record keeping systems. These deficiencies just pile up, and they're expensive to correct. One that it's not expensive to correct, but it's an issue. I kind of mentioned it earlier, was the turnover of the kids who are in there. Knox County Schools goes in, and they have a school there that Knox County Schools provides teachers for and everything else. These kids are only in there one day. A lot of them don't even go, and while they're in there, they have the choice not to attend class. So they're not. There is not a requirement, so that makes it a challenge to provide actual actual education to the residents who are there. It's not impossible, but it is a challenge. But all of these things will add up. They have no idea yet how much it would cost
to just bring the place up to contemporary standards.
Right. I mean, and one thing is, it hasn't met the state standards for certification since 2022. So
right, that was one of the findings that came out that prompted the eventual.
Yeah. Well, they
pushing Bean out, and it really does sound like you said, he's been running this since the early 70s when it opened, and it sounds like he's kind of been running it the same way since the early 70s.
Absolutely, that was the impression that's the impression you get when you read this. Is if you keep in mind when you're reading this that the same person's been running it since the 1970s, and you go, well, in the 1970s, you did all paper stuff. In the 1970s, maybe there wasn't a need for a perimeter fence. Maybe in the 1970s, you probably didn't have as extensive a network, or the expectations of this extensive network of security cameras.
And the kind of harsher disciplines and solitary confinement and so forth that Bean was also criticized for were maybe more accepted at the time.
Absolutely, and even he did in speaking with ProPublica when they did a fantastic series on the detention facility. His basic attitude was, the kids need this. They need that discipline. I'm old school, and this is old school, and it works. And I don't know if it works or not, but he certainly did it. In fact, he was doing it right up to the end. There were, a couple of dozen during the course of a month of these. They call it seclusion in the juvenile system. It's basically solitary confinement, and it was they used it more than any other facility in the state by far. Anyway, one thing that was in this report is it became obvious. It was only mentioned once or twice, but a massive cultural change needs to go accompany this throughout the whole operation. The people that work there, and the way that it's set up, the way that it's managed, and he said, Hart said, in the report, to the extent that cultural change starts with the building, and you need to change the name of the building. You need to drop Richard Bean's name. The official name of the facility is the Richard L. Bean Juvenile Service Center. He said, drop that. Make it the East Tennessee Regional facility. And so I don't know if they'll do that, because Bean's political influence over the years, even though that's waned quite a bit. Obviously because he's not there anymore, but that was an indicator that everything is wrong there, or not just about everything's wrong. Well, the one thing that they did, that did come out in this is that the juveniles who were there did not appear to be mistreated, that they were well fed, appeared to be, generally, other than being put in solitary confinement, I guess you'd say that would be a mistreatment. But other than that, and some of these kids are violent, and Judge Irwin made a point of that. The juvenile court judge said that Tim Irwin, said that we have some pretty violent kids here, a very small number, but they're still there, and they are among those who don't get released when they just come in and go out. So,
so it seems like the big question is, what do they do about this? I mean, the county is moving to put this under the sheriff's office, which itself is not necessarily trained in running juvenile detention. The sheriff's office runs the county jail, which only has people who are accused of or convicted of crimes, and it's a much different sort of situation. Is that still the plan, or did the scope of all this give some second thoughts about how to make that transition?
Well, both. When they decided to put the management of the facility into the sheriff's office, they acknowledged sheriff doesn't do this. I mean, the sheriff told them, I don't do this. So what they did was this board and Bivens, the interim superintendent, were going to take over and kind of get it ready for the sheriff to take over January 1st. In the meantime, the sheriff's office was going to get up to speed on juvenile detention, and there are different. The detention officers, for example, have different criteria for them than in the juvenile system than in the adult system. So, anyway, the scope of the problems is so extensive, and the sheriff has apparently told the board members that he doesn't think he's going to be ready by January 1st either. So they voted, the board last week, in light of this report and the sheriff's communications, they voted to ask county commission to extend the time for the transition to the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th. So the sheriff would take over on July 1st, and they have until then to. They're not going to correct everything between now and then, but they'll to at least have a plan and hopefully have a plan and be able to move forward. The one thing, of course, is like I said, they don't know how much it will cost, and it would be so they're going to have to figure out how to how to move forward, what they're going to have to do first. What can be delayed or deferred, and then how to pay for it. I mean, they're going to have to ask the county commission for more money. That's a given. Now, how much more we don't know, and also they are going to be exploring ways to supplement their income. I mean, for instance, they get these other counties. There are kids outside of Knox County who are detained there. They pay Knox County a certain amount of money. That's not really going to help a whole lot. But like I said, they don't know on a per resident basis how much it actually costs. Now they charge these counties and they charge DCS a certain amount of money for each, per day per resident. So, but they don't know how that relates to the actual cost.
I hear goat milk creams and soaps are pretty good money. You could supplement some income With some goat soap sales.
Well, one thing that's been brought up, that's floated around, doesn't look like it's very feasible, would be to essentially rent out some of the, like I said, there are 2 dorms that are empty when they don't have goats in them, and they were saying, well, we could rent that out for substance abuse treatment or things like that. Well, kind of the CTAS study they didn't take a deep dive into that, but they did say, okay, this has come up. Here's what we think about it. One of the things is, you got to do. It's a completely different intake process, completely different supervisory process.
Right, and do you want to put that population right next to all these juveniles?
Yeah, that most of whom have been accused of committing crimes. So it's there's some problems with that. But Larson J., who is the chair of the oversight committee, said, we're going to look, maybe we can get grants, maybe we can get DCS to provide more money. Maybe they're going to be looking for other sources, and of course things like grants generally would go toward, like, they might be able to find a grant to help pay for the cameras, for example, or the fencing, but they're not going to be able to find grants, probably not anyway, that would pay for new positions over the long haul and operating those. When you add 34 cameras, I don't know what their surveillance system is like, but that might require an upgrade to the monitoring system there of those cameras. So, would it cover that? It's really in flux, but the bottom line is it's going to cost probably a lot of money to get that facility to where it meets the modern standards of a juvenile detention facility. So
the next thing that happens is County Commission will have to vote to extend the transition period. That will
be next. The idea is to have that on their budget in November, or on their agenda in November. They would vote on that, and that would extend this transition period. The board would continue overseeing what's going on. Bivens would still be in place as the interim superintendent. And one of the things that Hart said in his report, and in talking to the board during the meeting, is that Bivens has initiated a lot of changes already. He's trying to address these problems. Of course, you can't do it all. For instance, the aforementioned officer in charge during the shift, things like that. He recognized immediately when he came in that there's no supervisor for a shift. There are no shift supervisors. So he kind of did what he could do, and that's to get an supervisor for a day every shift that goes in there. But he knows as well, and they know as well that that's not a long-term solution. And the long-term solution would be to hire supervisors, and supervisors, cost even more than regular employees, as we all know. So, these are added costs that they're going to have to pay for somehow, and that we're going to have to pay for somehow.
Right. Yes. The we part is important there.
Absolutely. The one thing that County Commission won't be dealing with next month is a resolution honoring Charlie Kirk, which they did this month. Last week, the County Commission did. We talked about this last week. They did vote on a resolution honoring the life of Charlie Kirk, who, as everyone out there knows, was the conservative speaker who went to college campuses, founded Turning Point USA, a youth organization for conservatives, and he was assassinated in Utah. Someone speaking at Utah Valley University. There's been a lot of on the right, an outpouring of sympathy and outrage at people who would dare to criticize Kirk, and there were plenty of people who did, some of whom lost their jobs.
Well, we had that one guy here in the state of Tennessee that was in jail for like 30 days for a meme.
Yeah,
that's a crazy story.
He was finally released.
Yeah,
But,
sorry, don't mean to.
No.
But I mean that speaks to the severity of how the reaction was to it, and
Yeah.
and this resolution being a more positive, I suppose, version of the reaction to it.
Although one of the things the commissioners had brought this up when Rhonda Lee, who is one of the culture warriors of the commission, sponsored this. When she brought it up, they have an agenda review meeting the week before the voting meeting. Several commissioners brought up, hey, this is an honorary resolution honoring someone. We always do this for Knox County residents or Knox County businesses or Knox County organizations. This isn't for a divisive national political figure. And there's an option for something like that. It's a proclamation instead of an honorary resolution. Proclamation can be put forward by a single commissioner, doesn't require a vote, can be as controversial as you want it to be. But generally speaking, these honorary resolutions are to honor people who've made a positive contribution to Knox County and people in Knox County who have made a positive contribution. And they urged Lee to switch it over from a resolution to a proclamation. Lee did not do so. And so last week it went before the full commission. There was a lot of criticism that she took for doing it, especially from the three Democrats on the panel, and Terry Hill, who's a Republican, who basically saying all these things. You know, this is for this is for Knox County people, and Lee's counter to that is, well, he spoke at UT earlier this year, and he spoke at the Lincoln Day dinner a couple of years ago, and the Republican Party's annual big fundraiser. So he's had an effect on Knox County. In fact, she had members of the University of Tennessee chapter of Turning Point USA with her at the meeting. One of them spoke. And it's to give you an idea of these things, they had several other honorary resolutions on the agenda. They were honoring Ken Schwall and Bill Williams of WBIR, both of whom passed away. But these these are the types of people who are members of the community who have had an impact on the community. And Bill Williams and Ken Schwall were both, especially Williams, just beloved figures here. I mean, Bill Williams is the face of WBIR News for decades, and so those are the types of people that this is the type of thing that you do for state championship ball teams at high schools and the like. Another honorary resolution that was passed uncontroversially was the honoring the Master Gardeners program, the UT Extension runs here in Knox County. So there was a lot of criticism, although when it came down to voting, it was party lines. The three Democrats voted against it. All the Republicans voted for it, except for Hill, who abstained. She didn't vote against it. She abstained, so it passed. One of the interesting things to note is the two county commissioners who are running for county mayor as Republicans, Kim Frazier did not speak about it. She didn't address it and didn't address it when it came up the week before in agenda review. Larson J., who is running, did speak out against it in the agenda review a week
on the grounds that it wasn't an appropriate use of.
It was inappropriate.
Resolution.
It was, again, it's for it's for the Knox County Commission to honor Knox County residents and businesses. Yada yada. He voted for it. He didn't speak about it.
Well, and we talked about that last week, that one of the things you could imagine Lee was looking to do, because she has done this with other contentious resolutions, is to put her fellow Republicans on the spot, having to either vote for something contentious and controversial she's bringing, or open themselves up to being attacked in future, say, primary campaigns from, conservative candidates saying, well, they didn't vote for this, they didn't vote for that. They couldn't even vote to honor Charlie Kirk. So I think in that sense, it's not at all surprising that whatever personal misgivings some, maybe many of the Republicans on commission might have had about the resolution overall, when push comes to shove, it's and Lee obviously knew this in bringing it, it was going to be hard for them to vote. It's going to be hard for a Republican office holder in Tennessee to vote against honoring Charlie Kirk 2 months after he was assassinated. I mean, that was just the reality. Lee understood that. She, I would say, effectively exploited that political vulnerability. And the net result was she got an honorary resolution passed on a 7-3-1 vote. I don't know what great honor that in and of itself actually does for Charlie Kirk, but I think it says a lot more about the sort of jockeying and factions on county commission.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the results is that earlier in the day, that was last Monday, earlier in the day, the county commission's rules committee met, and they voted to recommend that the full commission change their rules to explicitly limit these types of resolutions to Knox County residents and organizations. So
they want to discourage this kind of thing.
They don't want this to come up again. And several of the Hill was one of the Republicans who spoke out and said, you're putting us in this. And she mentioned, you're putting us in this position. And we shouldn't be put in this position.
Because this opens the door for just using these as political footballs moving forward. Yeah. And
then you're going to.
That was one of the complaints against. That was one of the things at the review meeting that was mentioned multiple times. It's like, this is going to open the door for blah 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 on this thing over here that you don't like.
The potential then is to derail the function of county commission. County commission is not elected or charged with fighting out national issues, national culture war issues that they don't actually have any jurisdiction over for the most part anyway. And you can end up as this one chewed up a fair amount of time at that meeting. So, right, you could have the potential would be that every county commission meeting becomes half of the meeting is spent fighting over meaningless quote unquote honorary resolutions.
Well, Damon Rawls, the Democrat on the commission, who just pointedly told Lee that honoring someone with a history, Kirk with a history of racist comments, was offensive to him personally as an African American. And then, but he'd said during agenda review, hey, it opens up. This. I mean, are we going to honor George Floyd next week? What do you say if we do that? We don't know if he's going to try to. This next meeting is the only. Assuming they do change the rules, this next meeting would be the only time to do something like that. And I doubt very seriously that would happen. But you never know. There could be.
I think Damon should do Candace Owens losing her mind as her as his resolution, because she has gone off the deep end and the right started hating her too. Just make it as obnoxious as possible, but keep it somewhat on the right, just to make it real weird for the more conservative members of the commission.
Yeah, I mean, it could
it could be anything.
Support for the destruction of the White House, something like that. Anyway, won't go there because our job is not to talk about national issues either, as much as unless they do directly affect us. Another issue that the county commission grappled with, another kind of culture war issue, was there were two resolutions put forth by the other two cultural warriors on the right end of the spectrum at the commission, Angela Russell and Andy Fox, put forward these ordinances. One of them for organizations that receive defined benefit or defined services contracts from the county, and that's where the county hires them to perform duties that the county thinks that ought to be done, but they don't want to do them in-house. For there are all kinds of examples that can be used, but then require that they open their books to county auditors and pledge upon penalty of perjury that they're not assisting undocumented immigrants, and the same a similar measure would go to recipients of hotel motel tax revenues. The biggest one of those is Visit Knoxville, but others do as well. The Zoo Knoxville, I think the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, some other entities that they have to be tourism related to get these revenues, but they also wanted assurances that they don't help undocumented immigrants as well. This did not sit well with most commissioners either, and commissioners on both sides of the aisle, although probably not as contentious as the Charlie Kirk thing, but it was very much along those same lines.
Well, and they also heard from representatives of nonprofits who came to say, first of all, we already provide most of this information, and of course we will provide information that you ask for, but that some of the things in the resolution, the ordinances, the way they were written, could create both logistical challenges, because a lot of these are small organizations with small budgets, and also even sort of conflict with their missions. Like Daniel Watson, former school board member who runs a religious-based nonprofit, spoke very passionately, saying that, his understanding of his nonprofit's mission is to serve people and not to look for ways or reasons to he talked about, like, they don't ask the people who they serve at Restoration House, which is for single mothers with children, they don't ask their immigration status. And he also said that his understanding of his own religious faith is such that he thinks it would violate his mission to even do that. So, they really did get, I think, polite but principled pushback from a lot of the nonprofits.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And the whole you mentioned logistical things. You can ask somebody what their status is, and how can they prove that to you, to your satisfaction, and to all, and then to certify that you're not serving anyone with under penalty of perjury is a real stretch. It was brought up during the agenda review. Rawls again brought it up. Was are you wanting the zoo to check the immigration status of everyone who comes into the zoo to take advantage of the zoo services? Of course, the answer is no, but That's what it says.
Well, I don't even know if the answer is no. When
the answer was no.
It was Fox who put that in there. And if you look at the stuff that Andy Fox is proposing, I don't think it's insane to imagine that if you look at the overall immigration crackdown going on in this country right now, there are clearly some people who are becoming increasingly comfortable with the idea that everybody should be required to, at a moment's notice, prove their citizenship in any setting. And so, maybe Fox is not envisioning the zoo checking IDs at the entrance, but that's very quickly where this leads.
Oh yeah, it's perfectly reasonable to suspect that might be the case. He did say that those kinds of situations weren't part of his intention. So, but he is very adamant that Knox County funds should not go to people who are here without proper documentation. And the Russell, for her part, she's more about the financial end of it. She's a CPA. She talked about requiring all these organizations, even the small ones, to have audits. One of the interesting things is these contracts. The way that the county already does this is they don't just give a check to these organizations and tells them to go do what you say you're going to do. The organizations spend their own money, and then they come to the county and say, under the terms of the contract, these are the services that we've rendered, and we're asking for reimbursement, and they give them receipts and invoices and those kinds of things. The or invoices, but the county's grants department looks at this and says this expenditure does fall under that you've already made, falls under the terms of the contract. We'll give it to you. We'll give you a check. This one doesn't. We won't. They already kind of check on the front end before they cut a check to see whether these organizations are spending the money appropriately. So the argument there is that an audit isn't needed, and because that's already being taken care of. So the upshot was on this one was that that these ordinances need work. That sure they could improve some of the requirements that they put on these organizations, but as these were written, they were not adequate, and so the big discussion wound up being how long do we delay this, and so they ended up going into all the machinations there, but it wound up getting pushed back 6 months, 180 days. So they're going to do that. They're going to have workshops, at least one, they said, to go through some of these changes, and they'll bring this back again. But they did at least put the brakes on temporarily on those ordinances. So on the other side of the city-county building, then city government, city council passed on second reading the ordinance that would require them to invest an extra $10 million a year in affordable housing if and only if the sales tax referendum passes on Tuesday. There was no controversy, no real discussion of it. City council actually, I think it was one of the quickest meetings that they've ever conducted. It was over less than an hour, but there wasn't any discussion of this. Of course, they discussed it 2 weeks prior to the first reading. Anyway, it passed unanimously. That's going to go forward if the sales tax referendum passes. And
did it pass unanimously on second reading?
Yes, it did. But the first time they voted, Amelia Parker, who
That's why I asked.
Has she's made her entire time on council. She's talked about the need for spending more money on affordable housing, yet voted not to require this extra $10 million for affordable housing 2 weeks ago. Was absent at last Tuesday's meeting, so she did not vote. Gwen McKenzie, county commissioner, who did vote for her, was also absent, so the vote was only 7-0, but it was still unanimous, and it would have passed anyway. But of course, like I said, that is contingent on sales tax referendum passing, and early voting ended in the city election on Thursday, and hot out of the inbox, we have the statistics from early voting. Turnout was 10,855 for early voting, which is when you realize that there are almost 98,000 registered voters. That's terrible. Basically 1 in 10 voted early. So we don't know what the election day turnout is going to be yet. Usually it's about double, but or maybe more. So it's a terrible turnout as always in a city election, it seems. But it was comparable, actually a little bit more than the number of people who voted in November 2021 when these 4 seats were on the ballot the last time. These 5 seats. There are 5 city council seats up for grabs, and they're all district seats. But at that time, everybody was an incumbent. The last time these 5 seats, excuse me, I keep saying 4, but it's 5. The last time these 5 seats were on the ballot, and there were no incumbents, as is the case this year. Turnout was only 4,300 during early voting, so a lot more.
And that was when people could still vote in every race, and so had some greater sense of participation. Here, people are coming out to vote in one race at most, plus the sales tax referendum. Yeah,
so it's a little unclear, and it probably never will be very clear how that will actually affect the election change would affect turnout. But one thing that we do know is that the sales tax referendum is on the ballot, and there's been some speculation, and we've been engaging in it on how what that impact would be on turnout. And we do have kind of a handy rough gauge for that. District 5, which is North Knoxville, west of Broadway, essentially. North Knoxville and Fountain City, and west of Broadway over over to Norwood, essentially. There, the 5th district seat is on the other election cycle now, and so there is no 5th district council seat to vote for. So anyone who's voting in the 5th district is only voting. Their only reason for them to go out and vote is to vote on the sales tax referendum. And turnout in the 5th district is actually pretty good. It was during the early voting period, 1,172 people voted who lived in the 5th district. So Jesse, 1,171 of your neighbors.
Plus me.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Voted voted only for the sales tax referendum. And
voted only on the sales tax referendum. We don't know if they voted for it.
Yes, I meant on. But I dare say a lot of people did not vote for passage of that.
Yeah, I mean, conventional wisdom would be if people are only coming out to vote on a tax increase, if that's the only thing that is motivating them, conventional wisdom would tell you that they are much more likely to be motivated to vote against it than to vote for it.
Yeah, and one thing about this turnout is if you just looked at the raw numbers, and you didn't know that, District 5 is not out of line with the other.
Right,
with
it's the lowest, but
it's
not
the lowest.
by a lot.
Yeah, the District 6, which has a very close race between Denzel Grant and Stan Johnson for the city council seat. District 6 only had 1,314 who voted early voting, so that's a couple hundred, not even 200, 150 or so more than District 5, which didn't have a race. District 1, which South Knoxville, has only had 1,400 people vote early. So, neither, those are all, the District 6 and District 1 are traditionally low turnout even for Knoxville districts, but and it just shows that there are a lot of people who are motivated to vote for this. So you kind of wonder, you look at District 2 where 3,000 people came out during early voting. During the primary, Nathan Honeycutt won that with almost 80% of the vote in a two-person race with the same two people. Melody Watts is his opponent. So if his margin holds, there wasn't even, it would be easy for someone in the second district to say, well, he's going to win easily. I don't even have to bother going to the polls. So you have to wonder how many of those 3,000 people who voted in District 2 came out to vote primarily for or against the sales tax referendum.
And I always think it's important to point out for the youths out there listening, and I don't mean to offend Scott in any way, shape, or form, just since we're looking at the stats, that the 55-plus category more than doubled everybody under.
Yeah, well, and
it's usual and it's normal, and I just, it's one of those. As I am quickly approaching that 55-plus category myself, the more crotchety and angry I get as an old man about these kids not getting involved, but complaining about it nonetheless.
Well, to heck with the kids. We old folks rule. No,
I mean,
no, it is. It's a very. It is kind of troubling that the vast majority of people who vote are 55 and older.
Right.
I just did the quick calculation there. 78% of all early votes were people age 55 and older. 78%.
Yeah, so that's about what Nathan Honeycutt's margin was in District 2.
Right.
It's kind of a natural thing. Younger people don't see the value, especially in local elections. They don't see the importance of it. People really don't start voting in local elections until they are kind of getting established. They're having, they're buying houses, so property taxes become important.
They're having kids,
so school systems become important. So local government becomes more important as you get older.
And I'll admit 100% that I was one of those people too, and I'm complaining about myself as a younger man.
This has all been compounded by what's happened to the media, because if you think about somebody in their 30s who just moves to Knoxville for a job or whatever, what media, they're probably not reading the News Sentinel, because most people are not anymore, and especially anybody under 50 or 60. Where are they getting? Maybe they're subscribing to Compass, but mostly
a lot more
not.
of them too.
Our readership also skews older, and so apart from seeing signs by the road, it might be hard actually for younger people to even know there's an election going on, much less who the people are, what the issues are, because the media streams that they are consuming the most are just not.
I mean, I will say this: in my kind of brain dead time when I'm playing stupid games on my phone, Karen Adams ads keep popping up on mine.
All right,
yeah.
And so
she's cracked your algorithm somehow.
That campaign at least has been pushing into the digital ad space to try to get it. But but I think you're 1,000% right. Is that it's if I didn't do this show with you guys in my own show, and I got dork interested in this a couple of years back, I wouldn't know who any of these people are. And full disclosure, I'm not a city resident, so it technically doesn't matter to me, but it does. So I think it's an unfortunate consequence of the reality that we are. I'd love some solutions on that. And I think this show, I think my show, I think your other show, I think the Compass Proper is a great start for that, because we do need it. We need more local engagement with the younger set, because you're going to have kids and you're going to buy things here, and you're going to wish you had been involved 10 years ago.
Yeah, one of the puzzling things, and I think that Jesse, you hit on that a bit just a second ago. It's not so much the people who are age 18 to 29. We're only a few hundred. Those young people voted. It's not so much them, because, like I said, it's kind of a natural thing to not be interested until it becomes important to you personally.
And also, people that age are moving a lot,
bouncing
from town to town, figuring out what they want to do, where they're going to be.
Right, a lot of the University of Tennessee's here. A lot of the people who are 18 to 29 are University of Tennessee students who probably have, or maybe a lot of them have come here from other places and don't have that sense that this is where they live, this is where they're staying, is more while they're in college. But the more troubling part of this is the people who are between the ages of 30 and 54, or only 2,800 of them voted in the early voting period now. So you assume double that, then we're talking less than 6,000. So they're the ones that you think, okay, they have they have families, they have houses. If the city raises property taxes, they're going to pay more. If the county raises, well, the county won't. But anyway, they buy more goods and services. So if the sales tax increases, they have to pay more than some may want to. They may want the sales tax referendum, if it passes, is supposed to, the estimate is $47 million a year. Most of that will be going toward infrastructure improvements in neighborhoods. So, if you want sidewalks in your neighborhood, near your neighborhood school, if you want traffic calming on one of your neighborhood streets that's really busy, if you want parks improvements, things like that, that's where this money is going, and it could behoove you to vote for it. Likewise, if you your budget is stretched thin, like a lot of people, and you don't want to pay, you don't feel comfortable paying more, then you might want to vote against it. But the thing about it is, you'd be voting either way, and nobody is.
Yep.
That's the sad thing. But the good thing is that they have a chance to rectify that on Tuesday when Election Day hits. Polls are going to be open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
I'll throw an incentive out there. The Tuesday happens to be my birthday. This happens to be every couple of years. I end up on Election Day. So as a birthday gift to me, go out and vote.
Do it for Seth.
Vote for Seth. I mean, don't vote for Seth, but vote for Seth.
But keep that in mind. Maybe in a couple of years you can vote for Seth, but that's a separate thing.
Forget about your kids. We don't. Don't worry about your kids. Vote on Seth's behalf. Here.
Yes, please.
Anyway,
I won't even tell you who to vote for. Just do it. Just do the action. I might yell at you for the results. We'll see, but do the action.
And to Jesse's point about the media and finding out what's going on, I want to remind everyone that Compass's election coverage is out from behind our paywall. We're subscription based, but as a public service, we always pull our election coverage out.
Linked right on our front page at CompassKnox.com.
Absolutely. You beat me to the punch. CompassKnox.com. You can go there. You can get the election coverage. You can take a look to see, if you don't subscribe, see what we do. And then we can, you can, if you like it, you can subscribe. It's very easy to do right there on the site. Anyway, that is one place that we know you can find good information about the election. Also, we're kind of segueing into what was coming up this week. The school board is having its meetings this week. Monday is agenda review, and Thursday is their voting meeting. The big thing that they're looking at is their annual action plan, which is kind of the plan to that will guide them with goals on improving literacy and those types of things. We had a story about their discussion of last year's plan a couple of weeks ago when they were on their budget retreat. The proposed plan for this year is kind of a more of the same plan they want to be more consistent and kind of build on what they view as successes in the past. And one of the things is they are improving in their tested subject matters in all aspects. They're hoping to build on that and make that do that again. They've done it, I think, for 4 years in a row now, and so they're wanting another fifth year of improvement there. And anyway, that's going to be on their agenda. There's some Farragut School construction funds that they're going to talk about for 3 different schools in Farragut. They're going to be voting on policy changes, the second reading on those. And we've talked about a couple of those. But anyway, we'll be following what the school board does both Monday when they are talking about how they might vote on Thursday, and then Thursday when they actually pull the trigger and vote. So those are some of the things that are going to happen next week. There's going to be lots more that happens, and we'll be covering that. Our election coverage will be extensive. We'll report on the outcome, obviously, of the vote on Tuesday. We'll also usually, we like to kind of take a look at the breakdown of the vote and how that works, and we'll see, where one of the things we'll look at is where the support for the sales tax increase was highest and where it was lowest, whether it passes or not. But anyway,
right, and we'll get to put our theories to the test on whether the sales tax referendum had any tangible effect on any of the district races in and of themselves. As we'll get to see. I'm excited. It's going to be fun election.
Can you put the early voting numbers back up there for a second, Seth?
Yeah.
Because I'm just so if you look back at that 2019 election, which is the last time the mayor was on the ballot. Well, not the last time the mayor was on the ballot, but the last time that there was a mayor's race without an incumbent on the ballot. That had 10,878 votes in early voting, so just a teeny little bit more than we've had in this cycle, and that ended up with 25,614 total votes after Election Day. So my question is, over under 25,000, Seth?
Oh, that's a tired. You got me on a gambling question. I can't say no. I'm gonna say under. And I'll let Scott answer, and I'll tell you why I said under.
I'm gonna go under too.
I think.
Okay, go ahead.
I think as the evolution of early voting has gotten more comfortable to people, I think this bears out in the numbers too. If we look back at it, I think year in and year out, both in county and city and statewide elections, stuff like that, the percentage of early voting has been going up as part of the total votes. I think it'll get close. I think if I was going to do it over under, I would have put it at like 23 and some change. That would have been my number.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we were talking about 2019 when the mayor was on the ballot, and that was the basis for your 25,000 over under peg. But you look at 2021 when these 4 seats were on the ballot.
5 seats.
I'm sorry, 5. Boy,
you're stuck on that one. I get it.
I'm wondering which seat it is you're leaving out.
One of the things is these 5 seats, 5 seats were on the ballot. And we had close to 11,000 people who voted early, but the total vote was about was less than 22,000. So it's basically half.
Yeah.
So if you go by, okay, it's basically going to be half. Then we have another one that's around 22.
Yeah,
maybe 23,000.
That is what I was going to say too. Just for sporting purposes, I'll go ahead and take the over, but I find those predictions sadly persuasive. I don't think we're going to get to 25%.
I mean, I already won. You brought me cookies today, so I already won any potential bet outcomes.
I did bring some cookies. Scott, I have some cookies for you too.
Oh, great, boy! Now I feel really bad I didn't bring candy. Of course, we're pretty, we're pretty cheap at our house. We just bought some Kit Kats. We're gonna pass out. There's a story behind the Kit Kat thing. When we first moved to our neighborhood now, and it's a great neighborhood to trick or treat in as far as logistically, because we got sidewalks close to the street, everything. And we got it the first few years we were there. We got quite a few people. It's really tailed off since. But the first year we were there, we were giving out candy, and we did have some trick or treaters. And this group came up, and my wife handed him a Kit Kat bar, and the kid went nuts, started jumping up and down, and said, "I got a Kit Kat! I got a Kit Kat! I got a Kit Kat!" And so ever since then, we've that's been our go-to holiday.
You're the
candy.
Kit Kat people.
Yeah.
Do you like Kit Kats yourself?
They're okay.
I mean, I make a point. I don't even buy Halloween candy because we don't get trick-or-treaters. But when I have in the past, I always make a point of buying things that I like so that I can eat the leftovers.
See, we do the same, and it got broken into about a week ago. And I'm really proud of my family for not having finished off the bag. We do have enough to get through the night tonight.
That's always a risk.
And,
yeah.
Right. I was very I voted against it when the conversation came up. I was like, no, let's not open it because it might not make it to Halloween. And then we bought it for Halloween, not for ourselves. Well, but we don't get a lot of trick-or-treaters anyway, so.
Well, I like Kit Kats. Fine. And if, I don't even know who owns Kit Kat, but if they want to sponsor
us, that's right.
Sponsor us, I'm giving you this plug. I like them, but it's not my favorite. I guess they won't sponsor us now.
Tootsie Rolls are a mine if we're going to throw our hat in the ring.
But I'm a big fan. Right now, I'm on a big binge on these dark chocolate truffles.
Mm.
And
fancy.
Now, well, not that fancy. I mean, you can get them at Kroger. Come on. But that's not one of those great things for kids. Kids aren't really big on dark chocolate. So,
right,
so we get them the Kit Kats for the A, for the kids, and B, I won't eat them all before.
Exactly.
Now I will, the ones we have left over, which will probably be most of the bag, because like you, Jesse, we don't get very many trick-or-treaters anymore. So we'll have some left over. They will not go to waste.
WASTE anyway.
Well, speaking of referencing Jesse's other show, you can learn more about the onset of trunk or treat on
the history of the southern history of trunk or treating. Yes, that is on this week's episode of Headlights.
Cross
promotional episode du jour.
There you go.
Thanks,
and, so yeah, listen to Headlights. Thanks for listening to Compass Points. Again, you can go to CompassKnox.com and find out election information and subscription information and all that good stuff. But we appreciate you listening here, and we look forward to speaking with you again next week.
CompassKnox.com is your best source for news and politics in Knoxville and Knox County. If you'd like to learn more about the topics discussed on today's podcast, go to CompassKnox.com and subscribe for in-depth coverage and much more. And many thanks to William Wright for composing our theme song. Compass Points is a partnership of Barking Shark Media and Barbarian Productions, and recorded by Lord Seth A. Barber at Barbarian Studios, Knoxville, Tennessee.